But it's still on.
We've got about 2 minutes. Oh, I got it. Okay.
And we have 5:59. Oh, yeah, this is also nice. Yes.
You haven't had an owl session?
No, cause I was sick and I was online.
The owl picks a favorite.
Call the Newberg School District 29J Board of Directors meeting for October 28, 2025 into session, and we are pleased to be at the Catalyst Alternative High School this evening. And to begin our evening, Director Wolfman, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
I'd like to think it's to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Our first item on our agenda is for the board to recess to executive session for ORS 192.6602E. The Newberg School Board will hold an executive session on October 28, 2025 at Catalyst Alternative High School under ORS 192.6602E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body regarding real property transactions, specifically to review a potential sale agreement for the old Dundee property at 140 Southwest 5th Street, Dundee, Oregon 97115. No final action will be taken during the executive session. So the representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. We will hold our executive session in the office located at the Catalyst Alternative High School for the duration. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session. I will not be participating in the executive session as I have a conflict. So at this time, the board meeting will adjourn and the directors will go into executive session. Okay, we are going to start our board meeting back up after the board having been recessed for executive session. And we'll go under review agenda additions and or deletion. Are there any additions or changes?
Yeah, we want to bump up the last board action item for potential purchase and sale agreements up, so our subject matter expert can leave after that.
Okay. This is the thing I always forget. Do we have to do a vote to do that? Okay, so you've made a motion to do that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, call for any further questions or comments? I'll call for We're moving it, oh, I presume we were just, let's just move it under our next item, make it item number 5, just between review agenda and then consent agenda. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so that means we now have the item of potential purchase and sale agreement of the Dundee property.
All right, so we received a purchase and sale agreement signed from Cascadia Development Partners LLC for the old Dundee property in the amount of $4.25 million. Some of the dates that we have a total deposit they were willing to put down is $200,000. After the first 90 days, we'll get $50,000 in escrow. And then after 180 days, we'll get another 100,000 out of that. If they do decide to extend, they do have to pay an additional $50,000. That's included in this contract. But all that is held in escrow until the close. The total amount would still be $4.25 million. And then that would take effect on signature of the sale agreement. Within 3 days, the first deposit happens.
When is any anticipated closing?
Within 12 months.
Within 12 months, oh, okay. Okay.
Speak to each, that we do have a plan in place. Yeah, so, question is, the current, financing on the Dundee property has a balloon payment due in June. The district has a plan, it's started, and we'll get a calendar to the board the next couple of months of refinancing that for an interest-only loan with, again, another balloon payment at the end of the term. And that just gives us space to deal with real estate transactions. So, yeah.
I move that the Newberg Dundee School District Board of Directors approve the purchase and sale agreement between the Newberg Dundee School District and Cascadia Development Partners LLC for the property located at 140 Southwest 5th Avenue, Dundee, Oregon, 97115. And authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents to complete the transaction.
We have a second?
Second.
Any further questions? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 6. I guess I'm staying, because I'm my conflict. So motion carries. Yeah. 1 abstain. Sorry. It's been a while since we haven't abstained. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise.
Thank you. All right. Next up is our consent agenda. It looks like we have Heather McCollum is retiring and Dylan Stacy's gonna be a new teacher at the high school. Okay. I move that the Newberg Dundee Public Schools Board of Director approves the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further questions?
No, I do have a comment. If you look in the minutes, you actually see our after meeting comments actually summarized for all of us. So, thank you, Jackie.
Love that. Yep, that's a new thing that Jackie added,
Yep.
which we all thought that that was a great idea. Okay, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. All right, well, we're so pleased to be here at Catalyst. Chris and Jesse, and now, no, we have public forum, sorry. So it's getting so excited. Is anybody present from the community that would like to speak at this time? So now I get to say, I'm so excited to be here at Catalyst. Okay, so let us know what's going on here.
All right, well, welcome to Catalyst Alternative High School. My name is Chris Stevens. I'm the principal here, and Jesse Jansen is our counselor. Is there, I don't know how to, what's the best way to kind of do it? Oh, okay. All right. Well, what is Catalyst? At Catalyst, we provide a unique learning experience designed to support every student's academic, social, emotional, and behavioral needs. We empower students to connect or reconnect with their education, build meaningful relationships and pathways to graduation, and prepare for life after high school. We focus on relationships, academic relevance, and real-world readiness. We encourage students to think critically, build meaningful and healthy relationships, complete high school, and take ownership of their future. We have 3 academic programs here at Catalyst, and Discovery, which is actually our orientation program for real world. Right. Our real world is Catalyst's kind of main program. This is the program that most people refer to when they speak about Catalyst. Students complete a 6-week orientation program to enroll into real world. Students take 6 classes per day as opposed to 5 at the high school. Our grading periods are 6-week learning cycles as opposed to 12 at the high school. Classes are about 12 to 15 students per class here, and students can earn 9 credits per year towards their diploma. We are implementing project-based learning right now to promote increased academic relevance. There is an emphasis on collaboration, communication, and problem solving. Also, several of our students do participate in extracurricular activities at high school. Our Discovery program is our orientation program to enter the real world program. It is a high structured, prescribed program that teaches kids how to be students. There is an application and interview process for students to do if they are interested in this program. Usually we have 2 to 3 new cohorts per year, depending on interest. And cohorts range generally from 12 to 20 students. We focus on treating one another with respect and dignity, behavior regulation, relationship building, academic development, and building a supportive school community. We emphasize the 6 P's in all of our programs. That's prompt, polite, prepared, positive mental attitude, participate, and produce. Other skills that students work on are communication, collaboration, conflict resolution, grit, and assertiveness. Our Go program is new this year, and it's probably our most flexible program. It's definitely our most flexible program at Catalyst. With support from teachers in our Go program, we look for creative pathways for students to complete high school. Plans are very individualized and meet the unique needs of each individual student. Oftentimes, we are re-engaging students in school after an extended absence. Also, sometimes students who have been placed there for disciplinary reasons, they would go to this program. This is the program where we start looking at GED as an option for students. We also, of course, look at credit recovery. Basically, we're looking for any sort of way we can get kids some traction toward a pathway to completing school. Also, All of our students leave with a plan for their future. We do coach them with next steps after high school. The K-12 COA, this is a flexible, self-paced program that is increasingly independent and increasingly independent as students progress K-12. This program supports students balancing work, family, and health needs. There is daily coursework and regular progress monitoring and communication with in-person or virtual teacher daily. This program does follow the district trimester schedule. And at the elementary level, there are opportunities for in-person STEM and other social activities. In fact, this week, there is a Halloween party. Also, there is an enrichment reimbursement of $1,000. This is a breakdown of the completion certificates awarded from last year. 87% of our seniors completed a diploma or GED last year. Of the students who did not finish, all of them have returned except one, and 2 have already completed all the requirements for their diploma. For the graduation ceremony, students participate in either Catalyst graduation or graduation at NHS, or they can participate in both. Something that's very unique to Catalyst is our CTE Wednesdays. Through a generous grant from the Austin Family Foundation, we were able to employ the halftime CTE coordinator who plans hands-on career-based learning activities through site visits, workshops, and field experiences. Students focus on the Oregon employability skills, which I have listed here, and some of the locations that we have visited are local universities and community colleges, trade schools, beauty schools, culinary institutes, businesses like ARE Manufacturing, ADEC, Anvil Academy, Interstate Trucking, Onville Dam, to name a few. We've also done workshops here at Catalyst where students are getting first aid training and prepared to even get a first aid card if they choose. And we've also done food handlers cards here. These learning experiences, through these learning experiences, students build community connection and foster career readiness. Some of the challenges that we face here, like other alternative programs throughout the state, attendance and engagement are challenging. Mental health concerns, past trauma, and social anxiety impact regular attendance. At Catalyst, when a student drops below 90% attendance, that's about 3 days in a 6-week period. They are referred to our success coach who develops an attendance plan with them. Parent meetings, daily check-ins, and incentives are all part of that plan. We also are doing, as I said, the project-based learning. This is to create more relevance in what students are learning. And through project-based learning, students apply what they're learning to real activities. Next, we have our staff spotlight. And I have the honor of getting to recognize Ricky Sellers. Ricky is our head day, night, and weekend custodian. He's actually our only custodian. He takes great pride in our school, keeping it clean and keeping it looking its very best every day. Ricky is a dependable, supportive of staff and always goes above and beyond to make sure everybody has what they need. He connects with students and is often helping them get through the day. You can also see them many times helping him with activities through the school, whether that be cleaning windows, sweeping floors, just different activities through the school that kids actually offer to do to help them out. He contributes to both campus maintenance and to being a caring, positive influence in our students' lives. Thank you, Ricky, for your hard work and your positive impact on our school community. Next, we have Jessie, who's going to introduce our student spotlights.
Yes, so at Catalyst, our mascot is the Phoenix because people don't end up at Catalyst unless there's a reason that they need a specialized environment. So we really like to focus on rewarding and recognizing grit, so that ability to persevere, continue to push, to be a different student than you were in the past year. So our 2 students that are up here earned this most recent Learning Cycles Grit Award. And I'll talk a little bit about the student we had come tonight, because I don't want to put too much of a spotlight on someone who didn't want it. But Jake Thomas is here. He is a student that looks completely different this year than he did last year. He is on time, he embodies the 6 Ps, he wants to be at school, he's putting his best effort in. And this comes from somebody who didn't pass Discovery the first time around, but decided to give it a try again. And we just really like to recognize that at Catalyst, because we know being perfect the first time isn't what we actually are looking for as a community overall. So give an applause. That's our student.
That is our school. We'll have questions.
Yeah, I actually have one or a couple actually, but first of all, appreciate the presentation and especially calling out the students and the staff members. That's great to hear. One I noticed is this in the parking lot waiting to come in. Do you partner with the church over there for a coffee shop?
On Wednesdays in the morning, yeah, at Catalyst Cafe.
That's awesome. So I love how you guys engage with the public and community there, so that's great. I do have a clarifying question, and maybe it's changed since last year. You mentioned the graduation, if somebody graduates, they can attend both ceremonies. Okay, I do feel that last year that was not the case. I'm glad to hear that has changed.
So we sat down and met and talked with both Chris and with Mark. And again, any way that we can connect, I mean, it's an accomplishment.
Yes.
And so if you've never been to a Catalyst graduation, you should. It's an awesome.
It is great, yes.
Personal experience, but thank you. But for some families, it's being able to walk in the NHS one, and so we talked it over and kind of changed that piece, because it's like, whatever way we can get families and kids to want to finish seems like something we should do.
Right.
So.
No, I appreciate that. And an example I have is one of my daughter's best friends that she grew up into sports with. She came over here at Catalyst, but then that's when she has so lots of friends over there. And so she kind of wanted to be with both groups. They ultimately decided with Catalyst because those are more recent group, right? And so I'm just glad to hear that that's been worked out. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, both of you, for particularly the spotlights on staff and students. I think that's really meaningful. What is the relationship between Catalyst and Newberg High School? I guess in particular, for how many students is it true that they start at the high school and they find themselves needing an alternative environment like Catalyst? How easy is it for students to make that transition?
That's a great question. The majority of our students start out at the high school. We do occasionally have some that come and are able to navigate coming here early, but usually we are supporting the high school when we have students coming for here. As far as students coming over here, we try and make it as easy as possible, but because we are on 6-week learning cycles and they're on 12-week, it doesn't work out perfectly. And the reason why is, if we do our orientation and bring students over at the beginning of a learning cycle, which is natural, and they don't pass, then we really don't have a whole lot for them. And so we have to get creative. We try different things. We find areas for them to go. We use Go, we might use COA, but it isn't as easy in that respect. Also, when we start, if we start at the middle of a trimester and we bring these students in for the middle of the trimester, it works out really well if they don't pass, but we don't want to plan for them not passing. So what we are doing is we actually have, we're doing both. We're going to do an orientation that was actually first trimester or first learning cycle, and then we'll do another one actually fourth learning cycle this year. And I did actually work with Mark to decide how we were going to do that. There's not an easy transition, but it is something that we try to soften the best we can by supporting the students.
And then my second question is, you mentioned that students participate in extracurriculars. Do they also have elective options at the high school?
Absolutely.
There, okay, how does that work?
It kind of works out by first talking to Jesse and saying they're interested in doing something.
Typically, a student will come to me and say, I really want to take ceramics, or I'm interested, we learned about welding at a CTE field trip and I want to give that a try. And then I work really closely with the counselors at the high school, so I will either touch base with them or with Jenny Harkema, who's enrolls students, and we have a policy that we try to get them in for at least one elective. We don't want to have a 50-50 split because then it gets really messy, but we definitely want to make sure that those opportunities are available to students, especially if there's openings in those classes.
For those CTE Wednesdays, are those typically offsite? Is it weekly? How does that, is the daily schedule different on Wednesdays to accommodate them?
Yeah, it is. So first learning cycle, we don't have any trips that we go on. In fact, this first learning cycle for 6 weeks, we actually did a project with our students about the cell phone policies.
Nice.
And we knew we were going to need to have kids to buy in. Andy was involved with that, Director Byerly was involved with that and came over. I don't recall if anybody else was, but it was a time where kids were learning, you know, what is an executive order? What are we supposed to do? How do we process this? This isn't coming from us, so what does it mean? And it's going through that whole process of learning. And as a result, we have a policy that kids know. I will say they may not like it completely all the time, but it's a lot easier that they understand it. So, and when we're telling kids, you know, put your phone away, it's not a conflict between us and them. It's a conflict. We can stand with them and say, I know, just put it away.
But to speak to your question more, we also do, so every Wednesday has a different schedule than Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
And then our CTE organizer teacher will schedule field trips out to different spots. And sometimes all the students go together, sometimes they're split separately. So it really looks different every learning cycle.
I know there's been a lot of things going on with COA over the last year or so. I guess how does that fit in with Catalyst? I don't know that I fully realized that it was fully integrated. So is there anything you could speak to that as far as what's been happening?
Why don't I take that? So for me, the talking about an alternative school doesn't really fit because it's really like layers of support. And there's lots of, Chris talked about, you know, different, the real world is like kids here in those classes. We have the GO program, which is basically some credit recovery. It's also some individualized coaching. That is one more of these layers, and it was sitting out there with no leadership. Except for our teachers really were the ones kind of having to step up and man that. So this year we moved it into Chris's auspices because of it felt like it's another way that kids can get their education in an alternative way. The reason I'm answering this is we have work to do on COA. And so like we have a parent meeting with our K-5 parents coming up here to kind of talk about what they want. Our current program, online, asynchronous, synchronous, I don't think is really meeting the needs of all of the parents and what they want. So we need to sit down and kind of talk through what that looks like. We also need to do the same with COA 712. I think it's probably closer to meeting the needs of what those students and parents are looking for. But we also need to kind of circle up around that. So COA as a whole, we've got some kind of visioning that needs to happen around and where it needs to go. So that would be what I would say right now. The way it looks right now, it may continue to evolve. I don't know. How'd I do?
I knew we couldn't said it better.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments, or is there any support that you are seeking from the board? Anything that we could do to better serve the Catalyst community this year?
I mean, catch me off guard. I love having you here. I love having you just be, I believe that the more adults we can have with our students, the better off we are. I appreciate having you here. I appreciate the spotlight of our school. You know, Talk us up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Okay, well,
So,
thank you.
it's a great question. I want to say one more thing there,
Okay.
because of staffing the alt school is always a challenge, because of, we don't staff it the way we do our other schools. It's more kind of like the, if you build it, they will come. And so it really is us kind of trying to, I don't necessarily look and staff it at the same ratio that we're doing our other schools. There's like an amount of staff they need to be able to run their programs. And like everybody, we've cut staff across the district. But as you look at the staff, you can't just look at, because of the different programs and the way they run, you can't just look at it and say, well, they're overstaffed, or you have to actually know more about what they're doing, I think. So,
If I can add to that a little bit, you asked about electives, and I think that that's one thing that we have done better with more staff members. Especially when we're talking about difficulty with attendance and difficulty with engagement. Being able to have those teachers teaching creative electives is super helpful for our students to just have a meeting to come in the door, especially because when we're building the master schedule, we have to plan for this student might not have gotten the chance to take 9th grade English, so I have to put that on the schedule so they have that opportunity, which means with less staffing, we just don't have the opportunity for the things that actually make them want to come in the door.
All right, well, thank you very much. Okay, neat. There you go. Okay. So we've got the financial reports, the audit updates, the closeouts are your three, right?
Yeah, so they're all gonna kind of blend together. They're
Okay.
the same kind of conversation right now.
But there's no documents for us to review. Okay.
So, so these, the closeout, the audit, and our current status all kind of hang upon the auditors this time of year. So, what the auditors are doing is they're looking at, they're reviewing all of last year's documents. And they give us a list of to-dos that we're supposed to do. And then once we get to a certain point in the process, then they say, okay, your numbers are good for last year. And that closes out the financial reports for last year. It establishes our beginning balances for all the accounts in the budget for this year. And so, right now, we're kind of waiting for that. Either the numbers, yes, so that we don't have, so the numbers don't change on paper, basically. So that's kind of where we're at on the audit right now. The other piece on the audit is that the federal government shutdown has put a chokehold on the Office of Budget Management, or Budget Management Budgets, 1B. They made changes to the single audit framework, but they haven't gotten into the detail yet. So when they shut down the federal government, that is the non-essential department. And so the auditors are still waiting for guidance for the single audit, which is our federal audit of our federal programs. And so that is kind of stalled right now. And we've been in talks with the auditors that we need to make sure that we get our numbers in and our financial reports ready without the single audit. Because if we don't get those into the state on time, then they start holding our state school fund payment beginning in January. So we have until December 31st to get that preliminary audit into the state. And so they've said just today, they got another email from OMB just saying that, yes, nothing's gonna happen until they start up again. But the auditors have reached out to both ODE and the Secretary of State to ensure that they can get the information that they need to so it doesn't inhibit our payment. And so, I just have basically a weekly connection with them to say, hey, where are we at? So that's kind of the audit update. Nothing out of the ordinary going on, nothing of concern. We had some good folks at the helm last year. It had us on a good
So that would be true of every district around the state. All the same.
Correct. Yeah. Um,
Question.
yes,
Is it a possibility that they, because they haven't announced the changes, that they just have to accept what has always been, what has been acceptable up until this point?
so the auditors won't need to work without the guidance. And so basically what just happened is that single audit will be stalled until that guidance comes out. And so that's part of our federal grant reporting. Yeah, so I don't know.
Got it.
I think we're in the longest government shutdown right now. Oh, and then, yeah, they said today that they're gonna send us an open items list, revised open items list by the end of this week, which is good. That's a good sign. So we're moving ahead. So on the financial side, we'll go back to June. So right now, our, I guess, draft, any fund balance, was $1.674 million, which is $170,000, pretty much more than we were projecting in May, which is good. So it's a good starting point for this year. Let's see here. October was a big month for us because, number one, is when we load all the extra duty stipends, employees make their insurance selections for the year through OEBB. We find out who's opting out, which our contracts have language that allows unused insurance count or opting out altogether to convert into salary. So that was a big one that we weren't sure what's going to happen. We also had an increase in the insurance cap of $50, which is about 3% this year per month. And so looking back after loading everything in the October pay run, our salaries were generally 6% higher than in September, and insurance expenses were 8% higher. 3% of that is the cap increase. Our total salaries and benefits as of right now, and granted, we're just in the first part of the year, so this will change, are trending about 6.5% higher than last year, which is pretty much what we were looking at. And just to note that our salaries and benefits make up about 80% of our expenses. So it's a big chunk. Other things that we look at as we see to make sure the transportation, their core services, we have a contract, so we make sure that their core services went up per contract. And then we actually don't get the billing for the home to school transportation. They kind of catch up in December to get that bill because they're adjusting routes and making new routes or closing routes. So we get that information, well, in November, it shows up on the December books. And that's where we see what's changed our home to school routes, costs there. One thing that was, that came of our October ADM number was that we were 60 lower on our ADMR, which is the real, which is the kind of like the student count.
So 60.
60 lower than we projected, which is hard. Doesn't affect us this year, but it will affect us going into next year. So that number will rise and fall throughout the year, but that's something that we're going to look at because our state school fund work is has a whole harmless model where we're either have the higher of what we have now or what we had last year. So right now we're on the good graces of last year's numbers, and we're good. It's not going to change this year. But what happens is when we project next year, it'll be the higher either this year or next year when we have kids there. Yeah, based on our enrollment data, we're going to be going looking this year's data. So that it's a little over, we'll be keeping an eye on how that's going to affect us, especially during the budget process. In just recognizing where we're at, we've talked to building admins about their budgets. We have a 10% reduction. We're removing from their budget an additional 10% that's frozen right now. And then to access that budget, they'll have to have compelling reason. And then on the hiring side, we have no new hires, no new positions, and we're freezing all positions right now. So that's kind of in place. So that's kind of an update of where we're at. You guys have any questions with that or? And then once we do get the final numbers from the auditors, then we'll be having the financial number of reports, you guys do.
For the freezing the no new hires and new positions, would you describe that as we have hired who we need for the year, and or is it more of a reaction to current numbers?
Well, I would say we've hired who we need. I would look now, just watching, again, the other adjustment that made is there was a correction around federal grants. And so there's been less money than we were told we were gonna get in the spring. So again, we're tighter all the way around. Right now, what I would say is if we don't have to hire, we won't.
Right.
There may be a position that if it, like someone left, the one social studies position at the high school was someone who resigned and left. And so those classes have to be taught, so we're gonna fill that. But I think what we're looking at now is trying to move through this year without, we're gonna have to continue to save money. I mean, that's just, the labor costs are up. We were expecting that after the contract that we wrote. Those COLAs and those pieces are still there. So we're just gonna have to continue to find ways to do this. I will say again, this brings the boundary committee back into focus here because of, again, right now at our L's, we're averaging 20.7, I wanna say. And we need to be averaging somewhere closer to 23 to 24. And because of our structure, because I can't raise those class sizes, we're holding more, staffing money. And so it's something we definitely need to be continuing to talk about this year, going into next year.
Did you say on the hiring freeze with the social studies example that the teacher left and so there is a hire to replace them or that it's the?
No, we're gonna have to hire two,
Okay.
but there are some situations that come up, there's 600 and some odd positions in the district all told. There are positions that come up that we need to think, do we need to replace this or not? So we're not gonna be hiring new. But there will be some things still that we have to replace.
Yes, I just wanna say that I think it's frustrating that we live in a world where we don't make money as a school. We are based on the money we can get from the state, money we can get from federal, and it's just really disappointing to see it all kind of dwindle away, which hurts our programs, which reduces the number of students who are trying to get into our programs, which then hurts us more. And I don't know. Listening, it just feels necessary to say that this isn't a mismanagement of money, that we're doing this because we made bad decisions now. But just we're in this awful position where we literally can't make more money. We can't force kids to come to our school to raise our ADM, even if they did, that we're 60 away from making more this year from the state. So I think it's necessary to say that this is a frustrating position that I appreciate you guys doing what you can to help us get that budget a little bit bigger by the end of the year, I hope. And it's gonna be a difficult thing, but just feels like backwards world where we're doing this for our children and removing money and supplies and abilities to grow and develop from them because of everything happening. So thank you. And also it's brilliant.
Well, it's doubly compounded by the fact that we didn't have much reserves to help buffer the situation, right? So I appreciate the focus on building that back. Dealing with this reality. It's unfortunate and frustrating.
Those 60 students, are you able to tell us sort of where, or do we know where they were supposed to attend? Did it feel like there was a bubble, or was this just sort of our normal fall decline?
No, and this was off of what we estimated off the budget, so it wasn't even off of like what we knew were in the schools.
Okay.
Like in June, because we start the budget process in
Right.
February, is when we take that initial estimate. So just so we don't lose sight, because this is always hard. So most of my day-to-day was spent talking about all the ways that Newberg is awesome. Our kids, what's going on in the schools. While we've got problems, there's actually a lot for us to celebrate, and we're gonna bring out some assessment info and some local assessment info. And kind of how we're comparing to other districts. And while we still have a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong. We look very good compared to other districts. And so again, I just wanna even out that playing field a little bit, because when I walk through classrooms, I see teachers doing everything they can to help kids learn and kids learning. So, let's not lose track of the good stuff too. But we do have challenges, so.
Okay, any further questions for Nate? Thanks, Nate.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you wanna talk to us about the finance committee role?
Yeah, and I actually just forwarded you, everybody on their emails, the document that was created last year for the committee roles and responsibilities. So you can take a moment to look at that. But essentially, what's coming down to is, I think we need to understand, if we get this finance committee up and running again for this season, is we need to want to know what our focus is. Now, in there are just some standard things that we can focus on, but didn't know if there's anything additional or not, that we wanted to take on as a committee. And so I'll just read some of the board will determine the specific responsibilities of the finance advisory committee at any given time. Such duties may include recommendations to the board, including: 1, review monthly financial reports, including revenue, expenditure, fund balance forecasts. 2, review state school funding reconciliations. 3, review the district's annual audit and company management letters. 4, the running of supplemental levies such as local option levy or general obligation bonds. 5, long-term capital plans for the district. 6, investment of district money and undertaking debts. 7, educating the general public concerning school finance issues, including the creation of reader-friendly budget information. That was really what we were kind of tasked with last year, is that number 7. 8, local, state, and or national policies, legislation, or emergent trends which may impact district finances. And I think lastly, number 9, provide input on other issues identified by the board. And I think it was just me and Nate kind of go back and forth, like, well, who's really, is it our committee? Is it Nate's committee? I think it's really the way it's written, it is a board committee. So I think we need to help give guidance on what's, again, if we convene this group again, or at least see who wants to continue and fill seats if we need to, is what's this committee going to focus on? So. And that's just kind of really what the discussion is, open discussion here, thoughts, ideas, whatever, so.
I really appreciated the reader-friendly budget information last year. I think that you guys did an excellent job with that, and I think that could be a valuable piece that this committee can commit to, because I think that the budget process and the employees that we have working on the budget, that is, obviously they want to communicate to the community, but that is a big lift to be responsible for what the community sees, and obviously that would be put in front of their eyes as well. I think that it will take us, as we continue to work on building trust in our community, it's gonna take year over year over year effort. And so I think knowing that document was out there last year from this finance advisory committee, I think it would be more impactful if the community gets used to seeing that document, sort of like a summary year after year, as in it's not just this one thing we did for this one bad year, but we're committed to creating content that is easily digestible to the community. And I do know that our current staff is capable of doing that, but it's kind of the question of, do they have the time and energy for that, or is that something that this committee can kind of take on as their load?
I think going off that, I think that there's something about the community involvement and putting out that statement that does more, in terms of that. I like somehow talking about educating the general public about not only school finance issues, but just, why we're able to get this much back, or any issues that have affected our plan to get back to 5-7%, 5+2. I think that those things would be helpful. Just talking about this year over year, how we can continue to show our progress and talk about the issues that have changed that. I think that those things are good. I don't know if that in itself was enough to fuel the committee, is the issue that I would see with that. I don't know how you're gonna come once every month to
Right,
about that.
and this was stated that we can convene as much as necessary, but no less than 4 times annually, so. Okay, any other thoughts, questions, ideas?
Well, I like the idea of the finance committee, just more transparency and more community engagement is really a good thing. And as, funding of education is so complicated, I think it's really helpful for people to understand impacts of the federal government on education, impacts of, state taxes. I think it's just really important to have a broader dialogue about what it takes to have a vibrant, robust education system. So I would love to see it continue.
So part of I kind of brought this up originally, started this conversation. Here's kind of what I was thinking on this, which is, a year or two ago, I think this board was surprised because they weren't given information that they needed to be able to make good decisions. And it feels like moving forward and restoring that trust, a subcommittee of the board, the finance committee, would continue at probably a quarterly kind of pace to have Nate give you a deeper dive into where we're at, what's the money, could be budgeting on an ongoing basis, so that, again, the board doesn't get surprised by things that build up. That was why I started talking about this finance committee. That's kind of what I thought, which would be kind of one, maybe, when budget comes up, it would be great for at least a couple of you to kind of get a much deeper understanding of that. That's kind of what was going around my brain of what the committee might do for you.
I guess I'm interested in how that differs from our updates that we get on a monthly basis, or the information we're gonna get before the budget cycle. Like, what would that look like for them, so that the group could have a better idea and community members get.
So what I would say is, in my former district, when we did this, is the 2 board members that were on this committee would come in and they would just, my CFO would just go into much deeper detail than we typically run through, because it's complicated, but just get down into the information, give you a much fuller picture of kind of what's there. It's not that we're not giving you a full picture here, it's just that in the public meeting with 12 people around the table, you can't get as much detail. That's what I think.
So in that way, would community members be involved still, or would it just be a subcommittee of the board?
You could do it, I've seen it done both ways, but I would probably, Claire has written a very excellent document. She has lots of experience, so I would probably, and I think this idea of building trust with the community, I think that's still a really good thing for us to involve community members and that want to get involved. I know we haven't let Nate talk at all, but
I don't know if you feel any differently about it.
I think it's, I think there's two levels of understanding. There's what we can present in the board meeting, and then there's an open forum where you can ask questions, or we could even have scripted subjects if we did it every year. Or we can go through kind of the details, like you're saying, of whether it be the state school fund or how we calculate budget, you know, how we project salaries, you know, little things that we wouldn't bring up in a board meeting and be a forum for that. I love to explain and over explain.
Right. Well, yeah, I was thinking like some of the bullets that they called out in here, and if we did at least 4 times a year, maybe quarterly or whatever, or, I mean, do you think you, or working with me or each other, whatever, come up with like 4 different sessions? I mean, one of them was the audit, right? Well, I know we're not quite there, because there's a little bit delayed, but it'd be maybe a good session to go through the audit with this committee, so. You know, it might be the November one going forward, right? You know. So.
I think that, I like the idea of the quarterly. I also am just trying to kind of put my brain as a community member and as a parent in this district. And I think that there's, great worth in the continuity of this and having it continue more than just our crisis here. And just, if we have willing participants and willing community members who want to support our school in this way, I think having an avenue for them is important.
So am I understanding the structure of a quarterly meeting might be like a quarterly report deeper in the weeds in the finances
Oh, yeah.
and oversight, and then some topical, you know, things like the grants or like the audit process or things like that that come up. Is it those things? And then open questions.
I think, my opinion, I think whoever you is gonna be identifying, working on the agenda, maybe there's things that you guys have questions on that get submitted that we add to that agenda too. Because there'll be plenty of things, as things go along, so if we could have some standing items and then you know, open it up, send me the information, so prepare for that.
Yeah, I remember when, I mean, I'm not speaking for Saul, but I'm sure you feel the same way. There were moments we went through that state school funding and the difference between that and then I say a seesaw on the playground between that and local taxes, property taxes, and like how that plays. I mean, there was just a good probably 45 minutes discussions about that and that get deep into that topic, right? Just so you understand the mechanics and why you might, you know, like forecast this one a little bit this way and this one this little this way, right? And just to understand what's in the brain of these folks, right? So.
And the nice thing was we were able to both go through like the actual newest data information about the state school fund while looking historically to see like, this is how this works. Can you see the difference? Can you know, I don't know, it's like it was both informational and this is where we're at and this is the information you need to know and how we got there. So I think it can be very helpful to not just make it like a class on grants or whatever, but here's where we're at. And also this is where it has been if you're going down that road. Those were very helpful.
So do you guys feel like the role of the 2 board members should change this year? Do you want it to still be you 2? Should it be like rotating character?
We already took care of
Oh, you did, I'm sorry, ignore me.
I think it's me and Celeste, right?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Committees and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. But at this point, besides the list on there, there's nothing else maybe to focus on that we should look at.
Are you gonna keep the same? Have you reached out to the community members?
I haven't. I think that's the next step. I was gonna say the next step I think should be is me, Celeste, and Nate sit down and talk. Maybe bring Jackie in. She can maybe help communicate out to the current or the members from last year, see if they want to continue, and then see if we need to have you know, application for new people to hop in there. You know, we did have it set for 3 people, and then we actually amended it because we had 6 great, wonderful people. And they are all there, but like, you know, we have a flux of 3 to 6 members that can be in from the community perspective, right? So.
Yeah, I guess my thought is that, like, maybe having between the three of you figuring out maybe some ways to go, and then at your first meeting, kind of having the community partners also say, this is something we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not thinking of because
Exactly.
we're so into it. So
Yeah.
I think having their input on a direction of that kind could be helpful. Rather than us trying to guess right now.
Sure,
Okay.
down for that. Are you okay with that suggestion?
Thanks, Your Honor.
Are you good with that, Celeste?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Andy, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a related question, I'm wondering about you, and this may be totally parallel and not intersect at all, but I'm wondering whether Newberg's work intersects with Erasmo in a way here. So one thing that comes to mind, right, Dave, you brought this to mind when you said my former district. What can we learn from other districts around us in terms of maybe any creativity that they're using in looking at their finances? Is that something that we have a network to be able to do? Does that come through Erasmo or another way? I don't know, that's just a curiosity.
Well, I'll say from last year, my instant response to that from last year is we had 3 CFOs on it. Including the interim we had going at the time, plus Claire, and then Michelle, I think. And I think both of them at one point both went to Beaverton. So I mean, we had, if those members come back, we have great support from at least, those officers. And they've been around, many districts and lots of experience.
I've talked to both of them and they're eager and willing and wanting to help wherever they can. So as far as Michelle's now for the public.
Okay.
They're retired from work.
Okay, so is there anything else you need from us?
I don't think so.
What
Yeah.
I need to do? Fabulous. Okay, Dave, do you want
Yes.
to talk about the facility naming request?
So we received a facility naming request and as part of our AR. I'll pass it on. Then. Let's take 2.
They want to pass that.
I just printed this out for you. You don't need the whole thing, but the basic first bullet is, when we receive these naming requests, board shall appoint an ad hoc committee consisting of 2 patrons, 2 staff members, 2 board members, and 2 representatives. And then there's other steps here, but, we received this naming request, and so what I'd like to do is get 2 board members and kind of put a committee together to review this and then bring back a recommendation to the board. So, yes.
I was gonna say, for me, I think the call out is that second, small paragraph before bullet 1 is when the board chooses to utilize the committee for the naming. So I'm personally saying, I think we need to come as a consensus if we want a committee, or we just move forward.
Correct.
Right. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I personally feel like the committee is a good idea. Especially since we've not had. Our board hasn't experienced the naming requests for the building of a new facility that would prompt a naming.
And I don't think we need to take action. I just kind of need a head nod to say, yes, Dave, make it so.
Like to decide it. Yes, let's do the committee.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's kind of, or you just want to, I bring the naming request and you take action on it. But I think what Deb is saying is it might be better for it to go through a process.
I guess, yeah, my question would be, is this a shed at a school, or is this I think that in terms of deciding whether we want a committee would depend on the request, if that makes
It's not a shed. I think we're bringing it here because it's a very, legitimate, naming request
Okay.
and.
Yeah.
So that's why we think we should probably run some process on this. I should have said that first.
I assume so, I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So it's a shed.
We could do a shed for you.
Stop.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like you're gonna do,
Take
okay,
care of it.
all right.
No, I didn't put that.
Okay,
So you need board members from that, so.
no, I think Dave could probably reach out and figure out. Maybe unless
We have
somebody,
the facilities committee, so I'll
Yeah.
probably just involve those folks. Would
Yeah.
be my best guess, right?
unless you have a burning desire.
But, all right, it's not-
Just usually clarifying.
Okay.
And you want to take more committee?
Okay, noted.
Generally.
As
could be a
Andy,
coach.
I'm turning over the board meeting to you to discuss the 800 policies on our agenda.
Not everybody.
Okay,
Well, so.
set the timer.
We couldn't meet at Catalyst Alternative High School without doing some policy work in an alternative way.
Great.
So I'm gonna low key have our student reps throw me down a beat and we're gonna freestyle this. Although that would be really entertaining.
That would
It would be something Andy.
For anyone who's not states. Okay. So we're, on behalf of the policy committee, we're gonna bring a first read of 14 or so different policies that our committee has looked at. Just a general note, both for the board and just for the public record, that our committee is in the process of going through nearly all of our policies, many of which need to be updated from time to time as state laws and rules change. Those feed directly, and we say that law sort of trumps policy in that way. And so OSBA has a legal team that is constantly going through and creating sample policies, many of which we borrow directly from. And so you'll hear me use phrases today like we're recommending a readoption, there's no language changes, or we're readopting from the OSBA sample policy. I will also be clear about some of the specifics that the policy committee did choose to revise to make our own. Any questions before we jump in there? Okay. I cannot guarantee I'm gonna go through these in the order they show up in the packet. I believe I will. I'm gonna go through them in the order that we went through them in policy committee. So I'll kind of pause as we go. And they're loosely alphabetical. So the first is policy EIA. Not even on board. Just joking about that one. GCVDE.
Okay.
Which is titled Military Leave of Absence. This policy, we are recommending that we readopt from the revised OSBA sample policy. Any changes you see there are being suggested by OSBA. Next policy is IGAEB. This is our policy on drug, alcohol, and tobacco prevention, health education. Here we made an additional revision to say effective learning and the healthy development and safety of students. We wanted to emphasize safety in there as well. So you'll see that note. Next policy is IGBA, which is our policy on students with disabilities, child identification procedures. This policy, we're recommending a readoption with revisions per the OSBA sample policy. The next policy is IGBAB, which is educational records, records of students with disabilities. We're recommending this one be readopted with revised language from the OSBA sample policy. This policy also includes an AR for which language will be updated if the policy is adopted. The next policy is IGBAH. This is the policy on special education evaluation procedures. Again, recommending readopting with the revisions per the OSBA sample policy. This one also includes ARs that would be potentially revised after the policy is adopted. Next up, IGBAJ, special education, free appropriate public education. Same thing, recommending readoption from the revised OSBA sample policy, also includes an AR. Policy IGBAL, special education services for homeschool students with disabilities. Same thing, recommending that we readopt from the revised OSBA sample policy. This one also includes AR. Next policy, IGBB, talented and gifted program and or services. OSBA gave us several possibilities here for language, and we generally tried to keep the policy as evergreen as possible. For example, the district will adopt a written plan of instruction for talented and gifted students in accordance with law versus enumerating each part of the law, what is required by the law. So the language stays general and also a little bit more timeless as that particular set of statutes or OERs may be updated. This policy includes language about how complaints may be filed and handled. We chose to refer to our existing policy KL on public complaints rather than include an AR that's specific to this policy. Policy IGBBA, identification, talented and gifted students. We're recommending readopting here from the revised OSBA sample policy. This includes an AR as well. And OSBA gave us a choice on the language we can use around multiple sources of evidence for a student's talent or giftedness. So we got to choose the specific language that we're recommending here. Policy IGBHA is alternative education programs, recommending a readoption from the revised OSBA sample policy. This one also includes ARs. Policy IGBHC, alternative education notification. Again, recommending readoption from the revised OSBA sample policy. This policy is much more detailed than our previous policy, but is still consistent with our practice. Policy IIBGA is electronic communication system. We're recommending readoption from the revised OSBA sample policy. This includes an AR as well. And in this one, what shows up in number 5, what was in the OSBA sample policy seemed a little bit too narrow. So we came up with, Dave worked with Jamie, our tech director, to come up with some more general language that protects our students more broadly. Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you for policy IKE.
With IKE, this is our policy around, IKE is promotion and retention of students. In the current policy, the ultimate decision maker is the administrator of the building. And there was a choice in the OSBA sample, and we kept this the same as what our current is, which is in the end, the decision to promote or retain is the school administration. Now, they all run a team. It isn't a single person making this decision. There's a team that will meet, there's testing that will be done, there is conversations about who the student is and the rest. But when it comes down to it, at the end, somebody has to be responsible for that decision. So we did leave this the same. And so I just wanted to explain why that decision was being made in this proposal.
All right, one more. Policy JECBD on homeless students. This one is a straight readoption with no language changes. So
I have a question on that.
Is the word homeless, is that the recommended from OSBA?
That was what was in,
Homeless or
yeah,
Things like that.
that's what's in the current policy. I don't know if we have a particular preferred use of homeless versus houseless or vice versa.
Or if it's a legal term, I'm not sure, but.
The federal, it's in line with the way federal is, speaking to. That's what I can tell you. There's some other, so it's another reason why you see us readopting the OSBA language. Because of our language was maybe not, as, thoughtful. And so just going back to where OSBA right now is, most of the times they've been a little more thoughtful. But I think this again has to do with the McKinney-Vento, the homeless legislation.
Yeah.
Perfect. That answers my question, thank you.
Any other questions about this set of policies? And again, this is a first read, so you'll have a chance to vote on these in our next meeting.
Great job. Great job to the policy group. Thank you. Policy is, we're having a wonderful time. And actually, one of the things I wanted to call out that I am really enjoying about this process is it gives us, as a policy committee, an opportunity to really get to know who our in-house experts are in our district. I'm always very impressed with the amount of people who have eyes on the policies before they come to us and the input. And I just, this set specifically, I know that Dr. Dana Christie did a lot on it, and Holly and Jillian and Tammy are always doing so much to prepare these for us and really be thoughtful about that. So I just wanted to call out their work and thank you guys for that.
Yeah, one more. Yeah, one more policy.
One more policy. So, the final policy is actually second reading. If you recall, when we, met at Edwards last month, we brought this forward for a first reading, but we did pull it back instead of moving it forward, at the last board meeting. Because there were two minor changes that we wanted to include that were actually OSBA recommended. And so I just want to point out to you those two specific areas and the purpose for making these updates and adjustments is to make sure that our board policy captures what happens K-12, not just at a particular level. And so if you look on page 1 after number 3, it says, personal electronic devices must be placed in either district provided pouches or storage or may be kept by students in lockers or backpacks. We added a parentheses, they may be stored on the student's person but may not be used during regular instructional hours. And that is because you will find that that is the case at the high school. They are allowed to have them on their person as long as they are not out and being used during instructional hours. It does look different at middle school and elementary school. So that's the first change. The second change is at the bottom of that page where it talks about the disciplinary process. And we changed the word from will to may. Again, that's OSBA recommended language, understanding that there are variables and a range of consequences that go with misuse of electronic devices, and it could also, again, vary by level. So those are the two big changes. Any questions on those?
I see 2 more edits, but I think it's just, I don't know, maybe it's from previous, the content, the work content or on the last page. Is that added or they're highlighted blue?
Still from the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You change them from photographs to content.
Correct.
That was in the first reading.
It was, yeah.
Technology is changing so quickly, and we're trying to build language that's, like, again, illegal photographs. That's changing.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of also the one that I worked with Jamie, they called out social media and,
Chat rooms and email.
yeah, language kids communicate is changing so quickly that, we need something that's broader.
And so with this particular policy, we're bringing it forward for board action items tonight. For the executive order, we have to have something in place by October 31st.
Well, I move that the Newberg Dundee School District Board of Directors approve the adoption of board policy JFCEE personal electronic devices as presented.
Any further questions? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for everybody. Okay, Jillian.
Evening.
Good evening.
Well, tonight I am seeking your motion of approval for our Division 22 report that I presented a couple weeks back, and I'm just following up on any questions or comments from that.
Does anybody have any questions for Jillian or concerns about the report?
I move the Newberg Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors approve the 2024-2025 Division 22 Standards Assurances Report as presented.
Second.
Any further questions? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Good job, Jillian, and everybody who
Yeah, thank you.
put all that hard work into there.
Good team effort.
Well, thank you very much. Okay,
You needed a captain, though, that was good.
yes, for sure. Okay, so then we move on to our travel request.
Travel requests, I just wanted to explain, travel that goes inside of Oregon or to Washington doesn't come in front of the board. But any other out-of-state travel does come in front of the board, and this is our girls' varsity basketball team headed to Huntington Beach, California for the Marina High School Tournament. They have 5 chaperones and somewhere around 12 girls, I think, that are headed.
Would be great if these were fillable.
Right. I'm not saying this,
We can work on that.
I'm not sure this starts with no or not, but this handwriting is just.
Better than my husband's, so I can actually read it. Okay. So we need a motion for that one?
Yep.
Yeah. Finding it.
I move that the Newberg School District Board of Directors approve the out-of-state travel to Huntington Beach, California for the NHS girls basketball as presented.
Second.
Any further questions? It's very exciting. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Sorry for the comments about the pension. Okay, so we already did. We did that one earlier. Wow, future agenda items, we don't need to worry about that. Our next board meeting will be November 18th at the district office.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Oh, and don't forget to give your notes to. Jackie.
Right. Is it? Is it? Is it? Is it?